Welcome to Module 6 of the training session. In Module 6, we'll look at research and learning. We'll understand what is research and what is learning, and also how can we integrate research and learning into the M&E system. So by the end of this module, you should be able to understand the relationship between research and M&E, and also just understand how you can, improve your program through learning, and also how you can apply some of these research findings and lessons learned to adapt and improve your program strategies. So we'll start with research. What is research in M&E? So this involves the systematic investigation of specific questions or hypotheses to generate new knowledge and validate program theories and provide evidence for decision making. So it can take various forms such as exploratory studies, operational research, or even impact studies. Okay, so when you look at just a cycle of M&E research, it's you formulate your research question, you conduct your research, generate knowledge, as well as you make informed decision based on your knowledge. So what is the role of research in program design and evaluation? So research before program implementation. So we talk about the needs assessment, right? You conduct a research to understand the needs of the target population and the specific context in which the program will operate, right? Then you also do a baseline. With a baseline, you're looking at, okay, what is our starting point? What is the current situation, so that it helps you to set up realistic targets. So that is the role of research before implementation. So now, the role of research during implementation, you can do a formative research where it just helps you to understand how the program is being implemented. Okay, then you can do research after program after program implementation. You can do an impact study to just assess the long-term effects and sustainability of your interventions. So the common research methods used in M&E, we have the quantitative methods where you look at surveys, research where you use surveys and questionnaires to just collect numeric data. And then you also use experiments to just use the control and experiment groups to determine the effects of that intervention. And then you have the statistical analysis that you can use when you're doing a quantitative method. Then with qualitative methods of research, you may want to do interviews, you may want to conduct focus group discussion, as well as case studies, right? Then we also have the mixed method that you may want to use in M&E. You can do the triangulation where you look at multiple methods, surveys, interviews, and cross-verify with data so that you improve your liability of the findings. Then you can also use the sequential explanatory design where you start with the quantitative data collection, then followed by qualitative data to just explain the quantitative results. Then you can use the concurrent triangulation design where you do both qualitative and quantitative data simultaneously. Then we also have other methods that you can use, in your research in M&E. Direct observation, where you observe and record the behavior and events as they occur in their natural setting. You can do a document review. You analyze the existing documents and records to gather relevant information. You can use the participatory method, okay, where you engage stakeholders actively in the evaluation process through the method like participatory rural appraisal. So what are some of the type of research designs that you can use in M&E? We have the experimental design, which involves manipulating one variable to determine if changes in one variable cause changes in another variable, right? So for example, you may want to test the effectiveness of a new education program by comparing the test scores of students who participated in the program with those that did not participate in the program. You can use the quasi experimental design, similar to the experimental design, but this one lacks random assignment to control and experimental group. It's often used when random assignment is not feasible. So an example, you want to evaluate the impact of the policy change in one region by comparing it with another region that did not implement that policy. Then we have the non-experimental design, where you observe, variables as they occur naturally without any manipulation. And then we also have the case study design. It's also another research design that you may want to do. It's just an in-depth examination of a single event. We have the cross-sectional, you collect data at a single point in time from a sample that particular population. We have the longitudinal, where you do data over a period of time. So these are some of the types of research design that you may want to use. Now, how do you choose the right research design? So you need to define your research question. When you clearly articulate what you want to investigate, the nature of your research design will guide the choice of your design. You need to consider your objectives. Determine what is your goal, the goal that you want to explore or describe. The other thing also, you need to assess the feasibility. Do you have the resources with you? Do you have the budget, the time for you to conduct such kind of an evaluation, such kind of a research? You also need to look at the ethical consideration, okay? So these will help you to identify the right research design that is needed. The other thing also, review the existing literature. There are previous studies that have done a similar topic. Then you may want to see what method that they use that you feel you can adopt in your study. Then you can use pilot test. You conduct a pilot test to test your design and make necessary adjustments before full-scale implementation. That's another approach. Now we come to learning. We are done with research. That's how you can do research in M&E. Now we're coming to learning. So learning in M&E refers to the process of reflecting on data and research findings, understanding what works and what doesn't, as well as using this information to inform decision making, improve program performance, and foster innovation. So this process of continuous learning transforms us into more effective advocates, allowing us to refine our strategies and influence behavior and deliver exceptional results. Some of the key concepts in learning, we have adaptive management, where you're using learning to make real-time adjustments to the program and strategies. We have knowledge management, systematically capturing, sharing, and using that knowledge gained from M&E activities. What is the importance of learning in M&E? Continuous improvement. Okay. So learning allows organizations to adapt changing circumstances and improve program strategies based on the real-world evidence. The other thing is informed decision making. Okay, so organization can make informed decision making about their resources, their program design based on the findings of the project when they integrate learning into their system. Innovation. Through learning, organization can innovate by testing new approaches and adapting interventions to better meet the needs of the target population. Knowledge sharing and replication. So learning from M&E activities generates knowledge that can be shared with other stakeholders, including program implementers, policymakers, and donors. So this is the learning cycle, which is like it's a continuous improvement cycle. So you will plan, you define your learning objectives, you formulate your questions, then you implement the activities. Now you collect the data so that you learn from there. Then now you analyze your data, you reflect on the findings, then you act on those findings. You apply the insights, you improve your programs, enhance your strategies. So some of the tools and techniques that are used in for learning, you have the after action review. So this just helps to answer what worked, what didn't, and why. You also have the learning workshops, where you share findings, you brainstorm improvements. These are facilitated sessions, learning sessions. Then you have the communication, the communities of practice, where you do where the team comes on board and share some of these findings, their experiences on how they've been using some of these services. So we're gonna share with just some case studies and examples. So case study number one, adaptive management in program in health. So the context here is an NGO used learning from MND to adapt the malaria prevention program to learn a significant reduction in malaria cases. So the key actions, they conducted after action reviews, engaged the community health workers in feedback sessions, and adjusted their strategies based on data. Another case is the knowledge management in education program. So an education project created a knowledge system where they capture and share best practices across different regions. So what did they do? They developed a user-friendly database that captured that captures learning workshops and encouraged peer-to-peer learning. Okay, those are some of the case studies that I wanted to share with you on how it's very, very useful when you integrate learning in your system. Okay, so now how do we integrate research and learning into the M&D system? So the first thing that you need to do, you need to establish a learning culture. Your organization or your team should have a learning culture. Okay, so you need to incentivize learning. So you foster a learning culture from failures and also from success. You need also to encourage reflective practice. Create opportunities for staff to reflect on the evaluation findings, challenges, and success. Number two, you need to develop a learning framework. Components of a learning frameworks include learning questions, data collection for learning, and then learning platform, right? So you establish mechanisms to share some of these findings that you found with the stakeholders, so you can come up with newsletters, you can come up with knowledge sharing platforms and workshops where you just disseminate some of the findings that you're learning from your projects. Okay, now how do you apply research and learning to your program adaptation? So you need to use research to improve your program design. So how do you do that? How can research inform program design? Evidence-based decision making. Okay, you're going to use the research finding to inform the adjustments. For example, an operation research may review that a certain intervention is cost effective than the other, so you may want to use such kind of data to make some informed decision. Okay, then the other thing that you may want to do is testing new approaches. Okay, you test the new approaches. That is the one way you can apply research and learning to your program. Research allows organization to test new methodologies, new interventions before even scaling up to other communities. So pilot studies can identify potential pitfalls and help refine their strategies. Okay, so now improving program design with research, you're going to refine your study, you conduct pilot studies, you test new methodologies, identify the cost-effective intervention, make decision based on the evidence. Then the second way on how you can apply research and learning in your program adaptation is by incorporating learning in the program cycle, right? So real-time adjustment or real-time adaptation. So learning from ongoing program evaluation can inform immediate adjustment to the program activities. Okay, so for instance, if monitoring data indicates that a particular strategy is not yielding any results, then the program team can pivot into a new approach. Then long-term adaptation. Here, insights from the end of project evaluation can help to inform future programming. Okay, that's it. That's how you can apply research and learning into your program adaptation, right? You have the real-time adaptation where you make the immediate adjustments. Then you have the long-term adaptation where you, based on the lessons learned, you would want to improve the future programming. Now, documenting success stories and best practices. So what are success stories and best practices? A success stories are compelling narratives that highlight the positive outcomes or impacts of the program, often, featuring beneficiaries who have directly experienced a significant benefit. Best practices refer to strategies, approaches, and techniques that have proven to work effectively and efficiently in achieving desired outcome. Okay, why document some of these success stories and best practices? Okay, so documenting success stories, they help to just showcase your impact, and then they're good really for stakeholder engagement. When they see some of these success stories, they are very good to share to donors, partners, and communities to demonstrate progress and justify continued support. The other thing is learning and replication. If it's working, you're gonna do it again. Okay, and if it's not working, then you'll not do it in the way that you did it because you've learned that it's not working. Then documenting the best practices, the importance of documenting the best practices, program improvement. You will learn how you did well. Okay, you learn some of the best ways on how to do something. Scaling up and replication as well, because you've done well. You may want to get that information and share it into the next project. Knowledge sharing. Best practices can be shared internally within the organization, even with the external partners, so that they see what this organization is doing. Okay, how to identify success stories and best practices? So with success stories, you need to look for tangible impacts, right? Focus on stories where program interventions have led clear and measurable change. Okay, you need to feature personal narratives, highlight some of the individuals or communities who have directly benefited from your program. Then you need also to showcase the program innovation. Feature some of the cases where innovative approaches have been applied successfully. Identify best practices. Use evaluation findings to just analyze data to identify the strategies and interventions that have consistently delivered positive results. Consult stakeholders, engage the stakeholders, the staffs, the partners, beneficiaries to gather insights on practices that have been effective. Then monitor program performance. Look for practices that have contributed to sustained positive outcome across different contexts over time. Effective documentation techniques that you may want to adopt in your project. So techniques for documenting success stories, you need to conduct beneficiary interviews. Use structured interview to capture personal experiences and how the program has impacted their lives. Use before and after data. Compare the baseline and the post-intervention data. Then create visual stories. Incorporate photographies, videos that visually depict the changes of beneficiaries. Then when you want to document, what are some of the techniques that you can use for documenting best practices? You develop case studies, use evaluation reports, and then create toolkits or guidelines. Okay. Applying success stories to program adaptation. Using success stories for stakeholder engagement. Telling a compelling story. Okay. Focus on results. Highlight the program's results and how they have addressed the critical needs in the community. Use the beneficiary quotes. If somebody says something, put it in the quote and put a quotation or quote in that report. Then the other thing also that you need to do, the other thing that you need to do is you need to target your audience. Tailor the success stories to the interests and concerns of your audience. Sharing success stories, presentation and reports. Use success stories in program reports, presentation, and donor communication to illustrate program impact. Use social media newsletters. Share the success stories through online platforms, newsletters, or websites to reach broader audience. Using best practice for program improvement. Steps for applying best practices. Review and reflect. Adapt to local context. Then incorporate program design. Okay, so that was the last slide of this training. So these are some of the sources on where you can get some of these materials, and some of these materials were developed based on some of these sources that are here, and I'll put a link in the description for you to have access to some of these resources. Otherwise, if you have any questions, you can always comment and ask via email. I'll be able to respond to you. Thank you.